Hello and welcome to the Milford Finance Committee meeting, Wednesday, December 14th. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for 11/9/16.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. All right, next item on the agenda, the Youth Commission. We've been talking for a long time about having the Youth Commission come in here and really give us an update on what's going on over there at the Youth Commission. We did decide that we were going to kind of table that discussion until they had gotten into their new building. We talked about talking about what their activities were at the old building where they really couldn't do anything versus the new building. It really would have been, just useless. So now that they're in there and they've got activities up and running and they've been in there for a while, I asked Jen in the committee to come in and kind of give us an update on what's going on, so.
I need to revisit the minutes at the end of the show.
Okay.
Because I sent changes through, she didn't put them in.
I got the changed ones. She sent them there.
Yeah, but it's not in here.
Hello, everyone.
Change-
Thanks for having me.
Evening.
You approved the change ones. Right, exactly. Yep.
I guess, sorry.
That's okay. Ready
All
for
right,
us?
yeah, can you just do me, because we have obviously a new assistant director, so if you can do just,
Yep. I'd love to formally introduce our new Assistant Director, Katie Covell, who's done an amazing job.
Hi, everybody.
we're the 14 angry men and women.
Well, it's nice to meet you all tonight.
So you guys all received a 3-page memo from us with some updates concerning the youth center. You should have it now.
It's on the drive before everyone, which you decided not to use a computer, that's why I told you.
But it would be nice to have it before the meeting.
There was they did send that ahead, and,
It was sent on Monday.
yep, and,
Yeah, they created a new folder. Just
yep, so it's under Milford Youth Commission on your tablets, guys, so everything they refer to tonight, you'll be able to see it up there.
So I'll just go over it in depth with what has happened all post-renovation concerning the youth center. So since we've been in the building since May, we operated a full summer camp. We had over 95 families participate. We provided 12 full scholarships to those that needed financial aid. We also were considered an open site for the Milford Summer Food Service Program. There was 3 locations in town, one being the youth center, which provided over 7,000 meals to youth and up to 18 this summer. So one of those being the youth center. And every one of our campers also had the option to receive a free lunch as well as part of that program, and many of the families took advantage of that. Our after-school program right now, which started with the new school year, we have seen over 600 registered, unduplicated after-school members here. We are able to track that attendance, demographics, and all the services that we provide via our new sign-in system. We provide outreach every month. We would do a newsletter to over 2,000 people, our website, social media, newspapers, and we go to schools once a month as well. So we are constantly seeing new members at our after-school program, so it's an open door policy. Volunteers, we have a senior tax relief program, so we have volunteers in addition to our staff every day to help assist programs or monitor space in the building. Our programs have skyrocketed since being in the new building. We don't offer just the open gym, the game room, the kitchen, and the lounge. We have science programs, we have nutrition programs, we have weightlifting programs, we have a movie room, we have a homework room. So the possibilities there are endless with the space that we have now provided for us with the new renovation. In addition to the after-school program and summer camp, we also are involved in numerous community programs throughout the entire community, including the Santa Parade that we were just part of, the Jingle Ball Jamboree. We had a Halloween haunted maze for the community. Over 100 families participated. We just did a Thanksgiving dinner where we had multiple restaurants, individuals, and community members participate, and we had fed over 100 people as well for that. Going on to the donations portion, we went into this knowing that we were not going to see revenue from our rentals during the duration of the renovation, so we did a brick fundraiser campaign, which we raised over $17,000 for the youth center to supplement that loss during the renovation. Since May, we also started our own capital campaign. We went into this building without any furniture, and a lot of the furniture that we had prior, we were not allowed to bring into the building due to code restrictions. So since then, we've raised over $8,000, and we've had new sofas come in and furniture donated from various community members or through monetary donations where we've been able to purchase things through. So if you once you have this document, you'll see the list of where those donations have come from. Other than that, we have over $30,000 coming in from the Teachers Driving Academy. That's a partnership we've had for a few years now, and that they've agreed to partner with us as well for this fiscal year. So again, we'll see about $30,000 by the end of the fiscal year from them. Woodland Elementary, we had 4 trucks of furniture donated and repurposed, so we didn't have to purchase any of that furniture that we could bring back to the building. So our entire top mezzanine level is all Woodland furniture that we've been able to utilize. We continuously get donations every week for craft games, sporting equipment as well. Waters Corp. just recently took some of our kids to the Patriots game, and they provide Christmas gifts as in addition to the United Way, who provide backpacks and Christmas gifts and things like that for us as well. We received a grant, AmeriCorps grant, that allows us to have a full-time employee at a third of the cost of what it would be to supply that from our revolving account. So that's something that just started a few months ago. In addition to that, we received a China 6 grant, which allowed us to start the nutrition program. That has been very successful starting September. of this
How much
school
was that?
year. $4,000. I'm
you.
sure, excuse me? Sorry.
Thank you, I said.
Oh. If you've driven by the youth center, you'll see a beautifully new landscaped entrance. So just recently, we had 3 companies partner, A&P Bellingham, Consigli Construction, and Nydam Landscaping, and they provided over $20,000 worth of free landscaping services, granite benches, things like that. We are also waiting for the $50,000 that was brought into the budget, the state budget, but I know you guys are familiar that it was taken out of the budget, but we hopefully get it back into the budget after January. During the renovation, parts of the things had to get eliminated, including things in the basement, but that hasn't stopped us to try to start tackling things ourselves. We've had a day of caring where Synovian employees came in and painted all the walls for us, which the paint was donated by Benjamin Moore. We had a church in Hopton come and put walls up in our movie room. We had Paul Johnson, a local community member, put in rugs in our movie room and our weight room, in addition to refinishing all the mezzanine floors, which was a substantial cost savings to the town of about $14,000 from the renovation. Benjamin Moore, we met with them actually today. They're going to paint all the floors, ceilings, and put up an additional wall in the basement for us as well. All at no cost to the town. And just over the last 3 weeks, the Milford softball and baseball departments have come in and they put in the batting cages for us. So we're gonna, come January, have the batting cages up and running for the community as well. I'll let Katie talk about the rentals that have been coming in since September.
Yep. So since September, we've obviously rented out, especially the gym, spaces for other organizations and teams to utilize. Since September, we've had at least 3 to 5 rentals per week, and right now we're up to having a different group in there every single night starting in January, and that will continue all the way through the end of March. Since September, we've brought in about $12,500, and with everything that we have booked up until June, should revenue another $17,000 after that. Besides rentals, other opportunities we allow for the community. We have seniors in 2 mornings a week to do walking in the gym, especially now that it's colder weather outside. And we're going to be starting an adult open gym for basketball on Wednesday nights as well.
So in addition to that, we have also seen a staffing increase. So you'll also see in that attachment that was provided an operating budget and our summer camp budget. So now we work with 3 full-time employees, 2 coming from the town budget, the director and the assistant director salary, and then we hired a full-time program coordinator that comes out of our revolving account. In addition to that, we have 5 part-time staff to cover the increase in the after-school demand and the rental demand, and that's again all out of our revolving account. And then, like I mentioned before, our SCI AmeriCorps member that is a third of the cost for a full-time employee, but we have for 40 hours a week. Finally, we have a huge technology improvement. Thanks to the the technology budget they included us, we had over $17,000 of improvements, which includes computers for staff and the computer lab for the homework room that's upstairs.
And if I may speak to the enrollment, which is key real quick according to questions, is that number, last year, the entire year, we had an enrollment of just under 500. This year, in just 2.5 months, we're over 600.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to highlight, because everyone always was questioning, we're doing this $5.5 million project, and everyone would throw around these numbers, 100 people, 200 people. You guys heard it 100 times, and no one had a justification for those numbers, really. Now with the login system that you guys have, you can monitor individual users, and to hear the number that you told us earlier tonight, you repeated today, to have 60, was it 660 or 600?
We have 600 registered actors,
600 registered.
unduplicated registered actors.
And that's individual users. I think that's a great accomplishment, and I think it goes to show the programs that you set up, and also the building, you know, if you build it, they will come, kind of one of those things. And I think that has a lot to do with it. But I think it wasn't just the building, I think it's the programs and the hard work that you guys did to put all that together, and I think you should be complimented for it. The other thing is I really want to, if you guys took the time and you guys went over things very quickly, but really acknowledge the citizens of Milford and the businesses of Milford that donated. These donations here are ridiculous, and all the things that the community members have done to help you guys. You know, we should be screaming from the rafters because it just makes your job obviously a lot easier, you know, and the kids benefit from it.
Absolutely, and especially TDA. So how Teachers Driving Associate, how that works. Every kid that registers to do their driving lessons pays $99 registration fee to the Milford Youth Center, right to the Milford Youth Center, $99 a kid that they're allowing to go right to the youth center, which could go right to their business, and they're not. So that to be said, and there too, you know, that's unbelievable.
And lastly, before I open up for questions, I might have missed it here. I noticed one of your biggest benefactors in the past was always the United Way. All I saw was the United Way backpacks and Christmas thing. What other involvement or relationship do you currently have with the United Way? Because I know it was a little rocky at the end, so I just wanted to know what's going on with that.
So we also receive funds through their employee giving back program, so we do receive monthly checks from them in terms of that. I've met with the president, and we actually are meeting in February to talk about future financial increases, and hopefully in staffing terms.
Okay, so the relationship has kind of fallen off from where it was, and you're going to try to re-bridge.
Well, to answer
They've
that
already
question,
dedicated to
only
committing back to us.
The day of the,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Jim, to cut you off. The day of the grand opening, Paul Minor was there.
Yeah.
And he was sitting on the bench, and he called me over, and he said, I just want you to know, this is what I've been looking for, and now I'll be back.
Good, great.
You wanted to see the commitment from the
From the town,
town, and
of
now
course.
that we're established as an entity, I think we'll see a lot more.
All right, guys, I think we're going to have a lot of questions from you, because to be honest with you, it's the first time we've had you in here in forever, so I'm going to open it up. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the 600 kids that are registered, how many show up on a daily basis?
We have an average of 120 a day.
Okay, good. How are you marketing your programs?
We go to the schools once a month for outreach, where we sit in the lunchrooms, we pass out our calendars. We have a newsletter that gets sent out to 2,000 people every month that goes over all of our programs. We're in the town crier every time it's distributed to the entire community. We have a website, we have social media, we get out there in every way possible.
And what's the result? How many additional registered people do you get on a monthly basis with all the marketing?
We see new kids every day, every single day. They're coming in.
Do other kids talk about the programs and pass it on word of mouth? I
Of
mean,
course,
that's
we have a
really
leadership
what-
group. We have a leadership group that meets once a week, the JAG leadership group, and they help do all the programming and the marketing with us in
It's
addition to
made
that.
just up of kids.
Right. So then you listed a bunch of programs here, multiple programs, offered daily, gym, game room, et cetera. How's that paid for?
Our programming through our revolving account.
Not through fundraisers and revenue?
Oh, yeah.
and grants
Well,
and
everything that we
used
do
to see that.
grant-wise, usually if we have a specific new program that we want to run, we write a grant for it, and then like the nutrition program with the Chinook 6 grant.
But all our fundraising goes into the revolving account.
And how did the fundraiser go this year so far? You had the Halloween thing, how'd that work out?
We had the brick fundraiser, which was the $17,000. We had the Halloween fundraiser, which wasn't marketed the way that we envision it going further, because that's part of our future planning, that we need to do some more additional work in the basement to see that run the way we want
This year
it to
is
be run.
more of a community event
Yeah,
as
we just
opposed to a
basically
fundraiser.
Just to see how
I have all that equipment that was donated, and
Right.
that was pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah,
If you ever
it
get
is.
that going,
No, it's
We
huge.
talked with that brings more, it was a lot of fire safety code things that just, we will have that worked out for
We're
next
working on
year.
it.
Yeah,
And
And then
that was.
That will be
something that I looked at a long
fantastic.
time ago.
yeah.
We'll have our annual fundraiser in March that we always have.
I had the same question that Chris had. How much is United Way really committed this year?
I would have to answer
You
that
know,
question.
we've
They
heard,
haven't.
we've heard Paul Minor before talk about all of this wonderful stuff he was gonna do. And we've made commitments from a town level at the level that we could make them, and that never came to fruition.
Yeah, he hasn't made the number yet, Mark, but I think it's gonna be.
Your meeting
I think
Tuesday
it's
is-
gonna
No, I
be
mean
back
in- I
where
mean
it
in
used to be.
February.
Oh, February.
That's my personal feeling out of the conversation I had with him.
And the
He was
meeting is
very,
in
very
February.
impressed.
I mean, should be, we just spent
Yep.
garbage load of money, you know,
Yeah.
to make it okay.
Yeah.
Last question I have is about the heat. Where are we on the heating system? We allocated $40,000 at town meeting and have not heard about the results of the heating tests, and where are we?
We have an Army Renovation Committee meeting tomorrow night where we're getting the reports back from what's going on right now.
That's right now.
It's cold out. Does heat
Well-
work?
The heat is working, but we're still looking on some reports right now. We have a meeting tomorrow night about it.
The head house, the main house is working fine. There's some areas in the gym we're having a problem with.
But that's
every-
all being
that,
discussed
it's working.
tomorrow night at the renovation.
Because I know the discussion at that time,
It was not working.
it was not working.
Yeah.
And everything was leaking.
No,
and
no, it was,
They didn't
no,
know, they had to
no.
wait.
They weren't sure.
They weren't,
Right.
they hadn't flipped the switch yet.
We think we have a solution. We
Right.
don't know until we fire it up.
Right.
And we won't fire it up until the middle of October. And the last time I talked to Brian, he was not real positive on the results. So I'm interested to find out where we are.
Well,
Yeah.
it was just turned on yesterday, or was it today?
The heat has been on.
Right, but I mean, no, I don't mean that, I mean, as far as since the adjustments have been made.
Yeah, it's been functioning, the gym has been working, but there's still some issues that the renovation committee needs to communicate with the architects
So
tomorrow night.
have we spent any of the 40K?
Yes, we have spent 7,000 of it so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So far, it looks really good, guys.
Thank you.
Ms. Katie, you mentioned that we have all these groups coming in. Can you give us an idea of what groups?
Yep. So we have a local AAU program that wasn't in the fall. That was probably one of our first rentals we had. They did a 3-night week practice. Yep, basketball. And did a Sunday night fall league. So they had other high school teams playing games at the youth center. We had in a group from American Cancer Society. They did a luminary project, a ceremony to kind of start their year off too. We had the Women's Junior Club of Milford do a Gala of Trees event just this past weekend for the Jingle Bell Jamboree to raise money for their Guardian Angel Fund. We've had a soccer team come in for indoor soccer practices with the smaller soccer balls.
Milford?
Yep, Milford. We have
Futsal.
Futsal.
We have to look forward to the Milford High School softball and Milford High School baseball teams coming in to use their batting cages now that they're going to be available, as well as the town Milford girls softball program and the town baseball program as well.
So it's predominantly Milford groups using it.
Correct. We do have some outside groups. We also have the Millis Model Aircraft Group that comes in. They also run a 1-hour-a-week program for our after-school program to show the kids how to fly some of these cool planes. And then they hold the rental after our after-school program is out with their group too.
Okay, Jen, you mentioned that we got a grant in that we can hire a person at a third the cost.
The AmeriCorps member.
What happens when the grant dries up?
So the way the AmeriCorps service works, it's a 6 to 10 month program, and so then we'll reapply if we get it
Okay,
to
so it's a
spend the money.
fixed-
Yep, yeah.
My only concern is, you hire somebody, and then the funding runs out, and do we then have to pick up that salary or severance? Which you're saying, no, it's a fixed program.
Yeah, it's a fixed program, yep. In
I
addition-
like the idea.
Oh, no, in addition to that, with the rentals,
Yeah,
we
I was
also
just
have
gonna add.
morning. We have a respite group from outside, from Hopkins that comes in twice a week that rents at the gym now in the morning time. We have volleyball groups and
Yep.
every weekend that comes in.
No, no,
too.
I like the idea. I just want it makes me feel better if it's a lot of Milford
Oh, yeah.
people using it versus, the rental is nice,
Right.
but use by Milford, the residents who paid $5.5 million is even better.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Just one second. Is that, before I get back to Mark, does anybody?
quick
All right,
question.
back
How
to you.
much do you charge for the rentals?
So For a gym rental for 1 hour for the full gym is $100.
That's for non-Milford?
So
kids or
that's-
for Milford kids.
That's a set price for Milford residents. It increases to $150 for non-residents.
So that's the high school teams?
Well, this is that next thing. So they have the option to write a proposal to cut the costs. And we tend to help out the Milford residents, so they do get even a more discounted price. And I believe it's around $80, $60 to $80, depending on what they're using for services.
Go back. Milford Youth Soccer.
Yes.
How much do they pay to rent the place?
They run a soccer program for our after-school program, plus then do their rental after. So we charge them $50 for the gym.
They're a profit-making organization. They're a 501c3 company that makes money. It's not a Milford.
That's not the soccer,
Oh,
the
no,
soccer group
that's
is not,
not-
no.
you're-
that's
It's not
a
Milford
separate
Town
group.
Soccer.
No.
It's
the
a
wrong one.
Milford soccer team, but not through the
Okay,
town.
Milford Soccer,
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the high school to the junior high school.
Yes,
Right,
yeah.
right.
That's
Yeah.
where I want to ask. You
Yeah.
know, we have Milford teams and
Yep.
we have Milford organizations.
Correct.
And the organizations make money.
Yeah.
And they ought to pay more.
They are.
They do,
They
there's a set rate for them.
Significantly more.
We can send you the rental. It's a little more complicated. I mean, it's not so much more
Yeah,
complicated.
but it makes it easier to
but-
understand when you have it in front of you.
Yeah,
I'm just concerning me that we're not charging enough for the teams or the organizations that can afford to pay, and we may want to reduce the cost of the teams that can't afford to pay, and the organizations like the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and that kind of stuff. And I'd like to see some equity in that perspective. We've had this discussion for years. and
yeah, yeah.
Now that we have a facility that we can, that we're proud of, we should be able to charge for it.
Right.
Mark, we had that discussion early on, and they've committed to come back to us, because there are groups in Milford who don't charge their kids,
Right, they should be for free.
and they don't have any money.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they're gonna take it back to their board and come back saying, how do we help out the kids
Right.
who,
And how do we make it up on the other end?
Right.
basically?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's only been 2.5 months. Again, that's what's hard. Once we have a year and we can see, and we don't want the building empty. That's another thing. I mean, we need to get groups in there and make it affordable for them to be there. So that's what we're juggling with and working all the
But
So
time.
I love the
We-
fact that
we
you're
agree.
targeting mornings.
Right.
Yeah.
The building's
Why not?
just sitting there.
Of
Right.
course.
So for you to go after
Yeah.
programs like, I mean, obviously you're not gonna charge the senior center, but people who need space in the morning when the building is vacant, I mean, you're finding money there.
And as a
Yeah.
board, we have voted, on Milford programs to lessen the rent for them.
Should.
We have
Right.
not voted once to lower the rent from any outside organization like an AAU program.
that's good.
And-
They didn't pay the 5.5
And
million.
Milford's organizations get priority.
Yes.
So, obviously.
But Amy, your 2.5 months,
What
this
we're
is
in- what
great
we're
news.
interested in-
Yeah, it is
What we're
great.
interested in is the direction that we're going.
Right.
And he wants to see a $5.5 million ROI
Right.
in a year and a half. So the more you charge,
We're not gonna get the ROI.
Which comes
But it's a
from
good
buying-
investment in our children. But,
no, that's fine, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
Does anybody, yep, Phil?
yeah, hey, I'm thrilled that membership is at 600 kids. I think that's great. Usage on a daily basis, you mentioned 120, Jen. What is your capacity in terms of an after-school program? How many students or how many kids would you expect to get on a regular basis? Say a year from now, is it 150, is it 200, is it 300? I realize you got programs, you got different groups using it, people in the morning, athletic teams, youth teams, but like, just on the after-school piece, what kind of is a number do you have a goal, do you have a
I
target?
mean, we've seen 200 kids in that building at once, and it's, quite frankly, that's kind of the capacity that you'd want to see on a one-level floor. Like,
Yeah.
of course, we have more capacity than that, but in order to run a program at just a basic level where we open a game room, a gymnasium, and the kitchen and lounge, and then the structured programs are upstairs and downstairs, basically, anything over $200 is hard to manage,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, I
And then
just
you
wanted to
would-
get a
you
sense for
open the
that.
staffing situation
Okay, so that's
as well.
really the expectation.
But I also think sky's the limit too, in that if you have 300 kids, we just need more staff.
Staffing
So-
is the
And you
key.
could afford
I
that
mean,
at that
maybe
point.
our
Yeah.
capacity is what the fire department would tell us.
Yeah. Well,
Something
yeah.
like that. If we had 500 kids and had the right ratio for safety for these kids, we
I
can
just wanted to
do
know if you
it.
had any goals or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
expectations on the show.
Do we have that? Do we have the capacity for the building?
Must be.
For the, yeah, it's 7.
Is it posted somewhere?
Yes, right when you enter the building.
Okay.
Well, it's also gonna be different when you open up
you get a
different
couple
So
of
more
levels.
staff, we
exactly
can
right.
do a lot more things.
Yeah, but Amy, when you open up the basement and the
Yeah, that's-
movies and all,
Amy, one step at a time.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. We don't want to ever turn kids away,
Yeah.
but safety's obviously.
safety.
But again, I wanted some sense of what your expectation is.
Anybody else before?
Yeah.
Right, yep.
Real quick. Great report, Jen. It's absolutely great to see everything's moving along that way. Income and expenses, so do you have it in a spreadsheet
Yep,
format
you
as
guys
well?
have that
It's
attached.
on the Google Drive under MYC for Milford Youth Center. They have a profit and loss from July to now, and then they also have a projected one for the year as well. And as well as the presentation they just gave was under Finance Committee notes. So all the donations that she mentioned earlier, all the fundraisers and all that kind of stuff are all mentioned in that notation. So if anyone wants to see it.
Great. My only last comment is I'm always a stickler when we pass articles that have funding on it, that they actually get done within a timely manner. And with winter coming, you know, a little concerned that it was only like turned on, quote unquote, the other day. But follow through and do what you need to do, because you don't want a building that's half cold here
Right.
and freezing pipes there and becomes an issue.
Well, they've been great with us. They've been coming back to help us whenever they need to, because they know it's a priority for the kids as well.
Okay, that's perfect. So we should
Chairman.
hear an update in next year, that's all been resolved.
Are the activities in the youth, for the youth center, is that on a 5-day week or a 7-day week, or?
So the after-school program is run from 2:15 to 6, Monday through Friday.
Right.
Starting at 6:30 is when we have rentals come in, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday from morning to
Okay.
evening.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
The $50,000 that was supposed to come from the state, was that supposed to be a one-time contribution for a specific program? So what is it costing us not getting those funds?
Every year, the representatives go for that funding, and it's just to support our programs. It's an at-risk youth program grant
It's an annual contribution.
that gets put into the budget and then hopefully received. The last 2 years, we have received it. This year, we're still waiting to hopefully get it back into the budget.
Representative Fernandes and Senator Moore were instrumental in getting it put together. And unfortunately, with the flip of the administration, it was in and came out again, but it's going back.
what happens, I guess the point is, what happens if it doesn't come? Can
I
you
mean-
still cover it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's not currently
So-
built into that
no, it's not.
$120,000
No,
budget.
The
So
prior.
if you got it, what is that money going to be spent on?
I mean, the basement updates could be potential, more programming, more staffing, things like that. I mean, the 50,000 that we had received the year prior helped with the renovation costs, with additional work that we wanted to get, like the kitchen. That was taken out of the scope of the project. We were selected as a Heroes project, so we got cabinetry donated by Lowe's, but then all the costs to get that, the drawings and everything was a part of that $50,000 that was from the grant, allowing us to do these nutrition programs, et cetera, so.
Yeah, I think if you're spending it on one-time items, that makes all the sense in the world. You just don't want to build it into your recurring,
Right. no,
Exactly.
yeah.
because you never know, year by year, like this year, you may not get it.
Yep, exactly.
Anybody else? Once again, I think you heard around this table, and I think you heard me earlier today, and then you heard this. I can't compliment you guys enough. The hard work that you and the rest of your committee that came tonight has done. I think the taxpayers of Milford giving you a $5.5 million building helped a lot too. But this is great work. One thing that I would ask of you, obviously you've only been open for a little while. This tracking data, obviously, you have with this sign-in. If you can keep in touch with your subcommittee chair, just so we can see, I'd love to see how your enrollments are doing. Have we plateaued? Like 600 is where we are, or are we gaining? Because I think that's something I think that would interest a lot of us, how it's going. And I know also because it's that tough tightrope that you guys get where you're courting people from Woodland and you're trying to, but we also don't want to turn it into a daycare too. So you walk that fine line of you don't want this to be a free service, people just drop their kids off. Because that would, stretch your, to the limit with staffing and that kind of stuff.
I had the same point. I think communication with your subcommittee, so they can get back to us, I think would be very helpful.
Also, I mean, you guys all know, especially the gentleman on the end, I mean, we have a gym potentially that could be closing in the near future. I also, I want you guys to keep in mind that situation because you're going to be considered a fallback plan for that and that would be another reason we spent $5.5 million. So you guys need to think about how you're going to weigh that gym, whether you use a divider that you maybe mentioned earlier today, which I think is a great idea. It was kind of segueing into that. But you guys, you're going to be one of the places that if that gym goes dormant, you guys are going to be one of the landing places for a lot of the organizations in town. And I think you know, it's important that you guys take them with open arms because, you know, they are the core of Milford. And they're the youth, whether they come to you or they go to Milford baseball or Milford basketball, it's the same thing. And lastly, as me and Al had talked about you earlier today, there are plenty of programs I would love to see you guys open your arms up to, Special Olympics. So we're going to put some people in touch with you. But the organizations, and Mark had brought it up earlier, that cannot afford you guys, I would really hope that, and it sounds like you already are, but continue to be gracious with your gym time to those organizations that can't afford it. But seriously, great job.
One point of clarification, getting you into the normal flow, which we said is selectmen, just to go through Zach first.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, when I say selectmen, I mean the royal selectmen. So, you know, as you look at who they delegate to, if I'm reading it right, it's Zach first, and then he goes to the full selectmen. Not, I didn't mean to imply to go around Zach.
That's why, to be honest with you, there was a lot of things that we could have talked to in Rick.
And
yeah.
Rick, and
We always.
Because there was a lot of things that we could have talked to you about tonight, but in, you know, in respect for the selectmen and that kind of stuff, I don't want to get into it because it's not our business without them hearing it first. So, and that's why we did what we did,
We
so.
appreciate
All
it.
right, well, thank you for your time.
All right, guys, keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Suggestion box there?
We do have a suggestion box.
Because I want to go fill out a suggestion.
I thought you were gonna join the gym.
I was gonna join the gym too.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't think that line dancing, right?
All right,
More
Mr.
like a
Diorio.
Pilates guy.
You have one.
All right, guys, next item on the agenda is, I wanted to have the IT manager for the town come in. It's been a while since we've seen Andy. Give us an update on what's going on technology-wise with the district.
Okay, gotta move.
Hey, Mike, can you slide over this way?
No, I'll go over that way.
The bus service there.
I was out of state
Doing that in
Leave that
January.
over here.
I won't be here.
Doing
You
that in
got the
January,
numbers?
don't
They said
I
the
won't
numbers are
miss
going
that
up a little
meeting.
bit.
I won't miss that meeting.
I was out of state for
know.
the last meeting, and I'm still waiting to hear back,
Follow that bus.
like, what was discussed.
Can everybody slide down so Joycey can? I can take that out, correct? Oh, yeah. Am I moving away from us, not toward us, Joycey? I don't know what that says about us.
I think it's ever since Mark went to the left, Joycey goes further away.
I like him on this side, I have to say that.
All right, guys.
Some intelligence now on this side.
Ouch!
All right, guys, let's buckle
Don't
down
push
here.
it.
Heavily
We
weighted.
good, Andy? Guys in the back, can you do me a favor? Close the door. All right, Andy, all you.
Good evening. Before we start, I'd like to give a special thanks to not just the Finance Committee, but the Board of Selectmen to standing behind and helping build this department in town. A special thanks goes out to Rick Villani, our Town Administrator, and Zach Taylor, our Finance Director, who also was put up a tremendous a lot of help on the administration side of making this department happen. On the technology side, I'd like to thank my technician, Daniel Fournier, who has been a tremendous help on the day-to-day operations, and Worldman, our consultant, who helped on a lot of the projects that we have accomplished, and without their help and support, we probably wouldn't be able to accomplish as much as we have. To start off, we have our contents tonight. We'll go over just a brief IT overview. An update on all our IT projects, an update on the Veronis trial, which we've talked about before, briefly to talk about the Town of Milford website, which we like to overhaul, and the Retirement Pension Technology Group, or PGG, which is what the Retirement Board uses for all their retirement. For this year, going back until January, kind of just so happens that we had 365 help desk tickets that were actually logged. Now, these are just ones that were logged into our system. This was probably closer to about 400 actual instances that we actually helped resolve within the town. The town is running 17 virtual servers. 11 of them are here in the town hall, which are running off of 2 physical servers, one primary and 1 standby. We have 6 that are running remotely, 2 at the COA, or the senior center, 2 at the highway department, and 2 at the youth center as more fault tolerance. Don't know why that's a little technical difficulties there.
Only IT.
As with always with IT, there's always some sort of technical issue. All our backups are run nightly, Sunday through Saturday. They run around 8 o'clock with our mail server running at 7. We have 95 desktops, primarily Dell, running primarily Windows 7, but we do have some Windows 8. And as we get new computers into the town, they're going to be running Windows 10. We do have 1 Windows XP machine that's being replaced, which is at the senior center, and 1 Windows Vista machine, which is also at the senior center, and hopefully I'd like to get that replaced this year if we have some extra cash at the end of the year. If not, it'll definitely be replaced for next year. We did join the Community Compact with help with Rick. This was to help secure some grants, and part of my dealings with the Community Compact was to secure some funding for the redesign of our website, which I'll talk about a little later on. We also joined the Massachusetts Government Information Systems Association, which comprises of 60 area towns, and they meet every so often throughout the year and discuss issues that in IT that have to deal with local governments. We also joined the Interactive Collaborative Exchange, or ICE. This was created and hosted by the City of Lowell's IT department. And this is open to anyone who has any dealings with IT procurement for local and state governments. This is actually a pretty good website and a lot of good information on the forums there. The next is just a simple diagram of our town network.
Simple.
Obviously, it's not coming out as best as we can. I had my technician, Dan, create this for us. It looks better in Visio than it does in a PowerPoint presentation. But I'll just briefly go over it. As you can see, the center there, that's our center hub, which is the town hall, which houses all our financial software, Budget Sense, Patriot, Municity, and Data National, along with our mail server and our main file server. All the town buildings, which include the DPW, the Highway Department, the Senior Center, the Youth Center, and here at the Town Hall, all have firewalls, which protect us from the outside world for all those bad stuff that people want to try to come in and do what they would like to our network. The yellow encompasses all our wireless access points. Right now, as you all know, we do have professional wireless in the Town Hall. I'll go over it in a little bit. We do have it at the Senior Center. The Youth Center has it, and hopefully eventually we'll get something a little bit better for the Highway Department. The gray one is the Comcast. Now, we only have one there. That was just put there so it doesn't get all too conjobbled and jumbled up there.
You have a wireless at the library?
The wireless at the library does have wireless, but their internet connection and all that is done by CW Mars, which is part of their library network. The library is under the town umbrella, but they have not yet joined the town network. That will be done once they start replacing their server equipment, and that'll be the best time for them to connect to our town network. The gray box down there is the Comcast internet. All the town buildings have one. It's an internet gateway to allow internet access. If we go back to the blue, that designates where our backup. Each site has a local copy, but it also has a remote copy. The town hall goes to the library. The library goes to the town hall. The youth center goes to the senior center. The senior center goes to the highway department, and the highway department goes to the senior center. So there's actually a copy on site and a remote copy just for fault tolerance. Now we'll start on to our projects.
Andy,
Yes.
you've mentioned every department except sewer.
The sewer department, again, is one of those gray areas.
Literally great.
Literally a gray area, if you want to go that far. We do get calls for them. I believe they only have one computer there. They have,
that.
and I believe someone else does take care of their IT, but we also take care of it as well. So it's one of those gray areas that we'll get that straightened out as well, because they should be completely
I
under
was
our
just
umbrella as
curious.
well. But we do get from time to time. Usually it's budget sense issues. Can't connect. Going back to our projects, the town hall, as I mentioned earlier, we do have 2 servers. One's our primary and one's our backup. We completed that on 10/21 of this year, and it's tested. I tested it a couple times, and it works great. So if one goes down for whatever issue, the second one will come up, and users should not notice any difference at all.
So you've tested both the backup and the recovery?
Yes.
They're not in the same room, are they?
Yes, they are. They are in the same room there.
Should the recovery server be in a different room? You would hope?
Think so.
Maybe.
Case of like.
Case of a flood.
In case of anything.
If there's a flood here, we probably would have a lot more issues. It's something we did discuss with our consultants, and they said this was the best course of action that we
Okay,
should
I'm
go
not the
to.
IT person, but I always thought you had a mirrored server in a different location, but that's just me. Okay.
No, the backup
Yes, the
has to be.
backups are backed up, so
Backups
we
are
do
okay.
have all, so if anything did happen, we could recover it. This is just the hardware.
Okay.
And eventually, as we look into maybe like cloud solutions, this will be totally hosted off-site.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
It's like my PowerPoint presentation wants to get away from me. We also we also added more memory to our main server. So now we have we upgraded to 128 gigs of RAM, and so both servers do have that much. We also added an additional desktop, remote desktop server, which is our RDS, which houses our Budget Sense, Minicity, Data National, and Patriot. We added another one for fault tolerance, so hopefully our users will notice that not everything is slow all the time. That was a big complaint. And we completed that just recently on 12/11 of this year. We are planning to upgrade our Sonic Wall, which is our firewall, and add a backup. We hope to have this completed by the first this year. I'm hoping maybe around the 15th of January. We also completed the Veronis trial on 11/1, and I'll talk about that later on in our slides. The Data National migration, I'm hoping to have this finally done next week. This is not all us. This is on Data National themselves trying to make nice with Windows Server 2012, and we're just about there, and hopefully it will go live sometime next week. This is the senior center. We finally converted them over to our town phone system that was completed in 11/14 of this year. We now have the town hall, highway department, senior center, and youth center all on a 4-digit phone system. So anyone here could dial the 4-digit and get all of them. They're all on the same phone system. Eventually, we'll have out a phone book so all our employees could have access to whose extension is whose.
Is that compatible with the school district system?
Right now, it's not.
Can it be? That's what I'm saying. Can it be?
We could discuss that with Totalcom, who is our phone people, and we can discuss that to see what the cost or implementation that would be with the school system. We replaced the Netgear network switch that was there, which was outdated, to our new modern Cisco 52-port switch. We replaced the Sonic Wall there, which is their firewall. We also, as I mentioned before, installed wireless access points there. There are 2 networks, one for the admin side and one for the general public. General public is open for anyone who wants to go there. The admin, you do need a password, and it's hidden. Excuse me. We are adding another access point there, which is on order. Hopefully, we'll have that by the end of the year. But right now, the general public can enjoy wireless along with all the employees at the senior center. As I mentioned before, there is an XP home machine there. We are replacing that. My technician, Dan, is scheduling that with the end user. The highway department, there wasn't too much there for this year, but they had 2 desktops that needed to be replaced. Talking with Scott and Janice, they thought that the foreman should have a laptop to go out on his truck to various work areas, such as, say, Fisk Mill Bridge. I came up with a solution having a rugged laptop, similar to the ones you see in the police and fire cars. This is so it could be dropped, be out in the elements, and have a little bit better protection. This, however, ate into their budget. So they were able to get that laptop, and what we're going to do for them for the garage is you just reuse a somewhat new desktop that we have in my office. Again, that my technician is going to schedule that and hopefully have that done by early next year. We did complete the laptop the end of October of this year. The Milford Youth Center, which we just was talking about, and they briefly talked about technology. We did buy them desktops and monitors. They were bought 7 desktops, 1 laptop, and 10 monitors. All Dells were purchased and installed on 9/7 of this year. The network backbone, sonic wall, the firewall, and the server installation was also completed in September on 9/30. Their backup system was also completed on 9/30, and all wireless installation was completed by 9/30. And they too have a public and an administrative one as well. The admin is hidden and has a password on it. Townwide projects. We just upped our licensing agreement, server licensing and client access licensing. This deals with users connecting to our remote desktop service to use BudgetSense and adding extra mail clients. So we're up to date and compliant with Microsoft. That was completed by October 14th. We did just complete our desktop memory upgrade for all the desktops in town. So anyone who had less than 8 gigs, we're all upgraded to at least 8 gigs now. And our inventory of IT equipment, this is an ongoing thing. Hopefully we'll have this wrapped up by the end of this fiscal year. I have my technician, Dan. He's been taking the lead in this. As you can see in the back of all your tablets there, and right here, there are asset tags. I also bought another 250 of them for future purchases. But he also found this program called Landsleeper. It's actually a pretty good program, and it's something that I'm looking into purchasing. And it gives a listing of everything that's out there in our network. Not just, desktops and printers, but it also shows us when they're out of warranty, shows us, licensing and stuff like that. So it seems like a really good program, and it's something that I am looking into purchasing either at the end of this year if we have some money, or budget for next year.
How much does it cost then?
It's fairly cheap. It's probably around $500.
And it goes out on the network and registers everything that's hooked up to the network.
Absolutely. Goes out and pulls the information back, and we can get everything on that desktop, laptop, printer. It'll know how much toner a printer has left, how much memory, hard drive, and all that. So it seems like a pretty good.
It'll even tell you.
I think there's $500 in
It
it.
was so cheap, I'll tell you.
It's not in the budget.
Put it in the budget.
It'll even tell you like what type of cartridge it takes for the toner, correct? So that we could see if we're all aligned with the same type of printer for,
That's a
ink
good question. I don't know if exactly it will tell you the exact cartridge, but it will tell you how much is left.
But Dan is doing an admirable job, because this, he said, gets him what, 70-80%?
Absolutely.
Then he has to go out and verify to make sure that the nuances of what version, what this and that are right. It's a
Match
great,
asset tag with piece of equipment.
it's a great program. Hats off
Absolutely.
to Dan and you for
Yeah,
getting it.
absolutely.
on track.
And I have to leave this to Dan, give him all the thanks, Duke. He's the one who found
I would
this.
just go buy it.
Yep, something we'll do, and I can definitely talk with Zach about that as well.
I'll help you find the 500, Jack.
We'll advocate for you, not a problem.
Thank you, guys. Now we're going with the Veronis. As I mentioned before, we were looking into this over the summer. It's a program, a security program that goes out to see who has what permissions to what activities people are doing out there on files and folders.
Big brother.
This is an unbelievable.
Kind of like a big brother there, yes. Yes, there's a lot we can do with this. We had this installed in August, and it monitored all our file servers and our mail server. So yes, it's kind of like the big brother out there. And it focused on unstructured data. For anyone who doesn't know what unstructured data is, it's all your Word documents, PDFs, spreadsheets, emails, photos, etc. This does not encompass anything that's in a database, so unfortunately, anything that was in budget sense wasn't included in this. We did find that we have almost 222,000 folders and almost 1.7 million files across our town servers. And that encompassed about 672 gigabytes of total information.
Does it give you the age of those? Can you look to find out the age of those files?
Yes, we can definitely find how old a lot of this stuff is, and we'll also talk about that a little later on in the slides and stuff.
But that doesn't seem excessive. I mean, under 1 terabyte? I've got 2 terabytes at home.
Yeah, this is just the unstructured data. If you want to incorporate
That's what I mean. There's more
everything
to
else
it.
in our databases and stuff, now you're talking up to like 4 terabytes of information that the whole
Okay,
town
but it's
has.
still manageable.
Absolutely, this is definitely manageable on our definitely manageable by our department, I should say. What was analyzed? Users and groups. It was found that we have about 273 user objects in Active Directory, which is the mechanism that runs our network here, where we create our users and groups. It was also analyzed permissions, activity, what people were doing out there, and content. Content meaning sensitive data, social security numbers, credit card numbers, banking numbers, HEPA information, etc. And the big thing, external threats. As we all know, ransomware is a big thing in the news, and it's something we all need to be aware of.
Andy, does the system or the network limit the types of websites that the employees can visit?
Yes, right now it's pretty much the default, but we can fine tune that and
What do you mean by default?
Can't go on gambling.
gambling sites, porn sites, stuff like that. But we can fine tune it, like if we want to take away Facebook or, Walmart.com, we can do that sort of stuff too. But just to clarify, that this program would not do that. That'll be done on the firewall side. This is our security analysis that Veronis gave us. 11 folders, or 0.1% of everything, have global access, meaning that anyone who has an account in our network could have accessed these folders. I know one in particular, I set that up for everyone to share information, just in case if they need to send an email to someone and PDF file or pictures were way too big, something they could share. It's on our town drive. But the rest of that was interesting, and we did correct those issues as well. We also have 100 folders containing sensitive data, meaning that these folders contain social security numbers, credit card numbers, banking numbers, etc. And most of these are in the benefits coordinator, which actually they should. But there were a few that were scattered out there in various departments, and we're definitely going over to see if that information should be there and who has access to it.
Andy?
Yes.
With respect to that, where does the tax collectors come into this? Because they take money over the internet.
Absolutely. There is
Separate
tax.
company, or is it?
Tax collector they have their folder on our file server as well, and it's locked down to whoever is in the tax department. Yes, there could be. I don't have the exact
That type of
numbers,
information wouldn't be going through something like that.
I'm sorry?
That type of
It's my understanding it's a third party that collects the funds, so it never,
For the credit card.
the third party collects all that information.
Correct.
Okay.
But let's just take, for instance, someone might have had a vendor request to, you know, 'cause it's a new vendor to put in our system. A lot of times they'll have a tax ID, which is a social security number. And they could have just left that document on their file share. And something, you know, you do have to take a look at and clear up to make sure that people don't have access to that. We also have about over 1,000 folders that users have direct access to, meaning that they're not part of a security group. So user A has access to all these folders. Do they need? And I know a few of them. I did set it up that way because the way they need to access certain files. But there's a whole bunch that we're out going through to see if we can put them into security groups, which is the correct way to do it. Because if you put a user in a security group, the security group has the permissions. So if that user leaves or joins a different department, you pull them out of the security group and they no longer have access to those folders and files.
If you go in and do it, you have to go in and take them out.
Yes,
The
yes.
discipline has to be.
That's where the house cleaning
Right,
on our end takes place. And pretty much that's how we set up everything in our folder structure anyway. Everyone's in a security group. If someone leaves, goes somewhere else, leaves the town, you pull them out, they have no access. Then we have about over 82,000 folders with unique permissions. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing. These could be, they have permissions to go to the top folder, but say they can't delete the top folder, but can delete folders or files in the folder structure, the subfolders and files. And I know I do have a lot of security groups set up that way, so they can't just say accounting. That's the top share. They can manage what's inside that share, but they can't delete the top folder. And then they also discovered we have 32 security groups which are empty. These could have been there for who knows how long. They could have been used for something, or they were planning on using. I'm going over to see if they're necessary, and if they're not, we can just delete them without any issue. The primary objectives with this Verona's trial was to identify and manage all ownership of the files and folders, to see who has what to any file or folders within our file shares, and identify high-risk areas, such as those security numbers, credit card, banking numbers. Does someone from accounting need to have all the social security information that is in the benefits coordinators folder? So by determining who needs what, we can better secure our information here. We also audited our data and access, finding users who shouldn't have access or who are actually trying to access. So all this was done in real time in the background. So if user A was from some other department and is wanting to get to those credit card informations and is trying, because he knows how to get there, why is he trying to do that? Or why does he need access? And we can definitely audit that and find out when and who and where they did this from.
Or you just put a flag up and you go look at a
Yes,
folder?
we can set all this up with, you can set it to have alerts sent to you, or you can run reports to find, and I'll show you that a little later on a different slide.
Silly question, Andy. All the users, are they now verified?
Yes, every user that should be here is verified, and they are active town
I'm more
employees.
worried about all the users that shouldn't be here.
Anyone who has left the town of Milford have been disabled.
Okay, so it's only, you verified that all the users are active or
Yes.
official?
Yes, everyone that has access to anything is a town employee,
Cool.
either from the town of Milford, the government side, or the school side.
I don't need the details, I just
Yes.
want to make sure that there's no legacy
Absolutely.
people.
No, they've been all taken out and been disabled, and I even changed their password and disabled them to add an extra layer of security. And also, ransomware was also one of the things that we actually wanted to be alerted to. And we actually did have a couple false positives, just to say, so the system does work. It ended up being a temporary file that comes with an iPhone. Someone was either uploading photos or downloading photos. So it was totally legit, but I saw it and immediately went to see what it was. And another objective was to help define and enhance our permission standards. They're going to help us find the best possible way to permission all our files and folders for us, giving us some advice and tips. Now, there's a lot of auditing and reports and alerts within Varonis, and this is where the bread and butter can all come in, and where training would definitely come involved. We can get provided with the town with security, audit, and legal/forensic access to any events. So an event that there's an issue with, say, an employee was deleting stuff or copying stuff, we need to know why. We can run these reports. And it also gives us stale data. Again, I'll show you another slide on that. Stale data is data that hasn't been touched in X amount of time, depending on, say, 90 days. Anything over 90 days could be stale data, and do we actually need it still on our servers? Can we archive it somewhere else? We also were alerted on data that's been discovered outside approved locations. Why do we have HEPA information in another folder when it should be in our benefits coordinators folder? Social security numbers, where it should be pretty much in retirement or the benefits coordinator. We can also get alerted onto that in case these things get moved.
Andy, why don't you give us some of the examples, please?
Some examples. This right here is a slide in which you can search and get
The result of
the results, I should say, yes. The results of what happened on a file or a folder, and it will show you everyone who had any, copied it, changed it, read it, opened it, or what. And it'll give you the date and time and what they did to it. And you can also, the user account as well. This is an interesting one. This will alert us if people are doing something suspicious. If user A only touched 10 files each day, and then all of a sudden on this day 100,000 files, what happened? Was there ransomware? Is this person doing something that he shouldn't be? We can get alerted to this. In this example, my technician Dan was actually running a program called SpiceWorks, which is another network discovery program. And as you can see, he barely touched anything over the course of that week, and then boom, he touched over 140,000 files because he was running this program.
So Dan is suspicious because he did nothing for 5 days?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm more suspicious he wasn't doing anything than that spike there. But in reality, if someone was doing something they're not supposed to, or even if they're doing something like Dan was, what he was supposed to be doing, we can be flagged and alerted to that. The real-time alerting is where it comes in for ransomware or viruses or anything. This is not a virus program. It just detects the patterns that a virus or a ransomware could do. So, and they continuously update this. So if something out there seems to be ransomware, it will alert us, tell us, and we can go as far as shut that person or that computer off from the network to save anything else from being, say, encrypted. And as I said before, we got false positives with this. So the system is working, and within a matter of minutes, I was able to determine that it was nothing at all.
If somebody's ransomware program actually got into our system, I mean, one option is pay them.
Absolutely.
The other option is go back to a set point in time, and yes, you may lose a day or an hour or whatever. Do we have the ability to go back and not pay a ransom and recreate everything?
We have the backups. So the backups are separate, and if we did ever get attacked, I wouldn't suggest paying. That's just paying a ransom. We could go back and get the backups.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
If I get you and I say, give me $100,000 or I won't turn you back on.
Al, we should probably, if we're gonna talk in too much depth about ransomware and stuff, we should probably go exact.
Okay. No, I just, in general, I just wanna.
Yeah,
Yes, in a general situation.
Nope, nope, that's
Okay,
a very
let it
good
go.
point.
Good
No.
point.
Thank you, Mr. Buckley.
But with this, we could be alerted before that would happen, and this would minimize the damage that anything could happen. So it's just an added layer on top of our firewalls and our virus programs. This could really help us out.
immediately so you can isolate
Yep.
it and stop it right then and there.
Yep.
So instead of having thousands of files encrypted, maybe 5.
Is it something that's done automatically? In other words, suppose it happens at midnight on Saturday night, no one's here. So does that,
You'll be getting alerts.
it happens real time? Okay.
Yeah, I
okay,
would
that's
get
what
I would
okay.
get like email alerts and stuff, and
Okay.
since
And
it's-
again, we're talking about how we react to threats, what times are.
We'll
best,
wait,
what-
we'll wait.
I don't wanna talk about
Yes.
that.
Exactly.
absolutely.
It's good enough to know Andy can't sleep.
Yeah.
No matter
No, I
what.
don't sleep sometimes.
Andy, why don't you jump to the website?
Sure.
I'm not opposed to the discussion, it's just.
No, Bill, it's a valid
No,
point.
it's a good point.
Town of Milford, as you all know, we have a website. May not be the prettiest website, but it's done us well over the years. However, it's time to update it to meet today's needs. We need to have something that's easier for our public to navigate. Everyone is looking up websites, the internet on tablets, phones, not just a desktop anymore. We need something that they can easily get on their phone and look. Our website is not made for phones or tablets, so everything gets squished if anyone's tried to look at our website on a phone. We need to have somewhere where it's easy to centrally access not just town departments like the Board of Health, but what about the library? What about the public schools or fire, police? You know, there's people out there who want to get to those websites quicker, and they think, let's go to the Town of Milford website. But where can they find them? We need to make that easier for our general public to actually do. The other one, the ability for our boards, committees, or departments to easily manage their information. This is a big one, because there's a lot of people out there who say that we don't update our website that often. We make it easier for our department heads to upload information to their pages. That would definitely help out anyone who's looking for the latest meeting that's gonna happen, or what happened at the last meeting, or what, if the Board of Health has some sort of alert, say on mosquitoes during the summer. They can go on there and easily get that information and make the necessary choices they need, either call or get more information. Along with that, increase public participation and enhance customer service. Those two are huge, because we're a town government, we need to be customer-oriented, and we need to make it easier for our customers to do business with the town, such as paying a license online, grabbing a form for having a liquor license for the day because someone's having an event. Let's make it easy for them. Get it online, print it down, and then send it into the town for approval. Those are two big things, and those are the things I want to see in any sort of website we create.
We plan on discussing this a lot more at this election.
Yep.
I've already met with Liz Fernandez, who works in the Selectman's office, with virtual town and schools. Their main focus is on local government websites. Most of the area towns around us are actually using their content management system, so I know it's kind of a proven product. You can go to Medways, Franklin, they all have fantastic looking websites, and I believe we can create one just as well or even better than they are. As I mentioned before, we joined the Community Compact to take advantage of the IT grants to help defer the cost of implementation. So whatever money that we could get from that, we'll put, any money for IT, we would put forth towards redesigning our website. And lastly, I'm not gonna leave anybody out. We're gonna get feedback from our town departments. can't have a website without knowing what everyone would like to see. And hopefully, all the minds can meet, and we can agree on something that the town of Milford could be proud of.
Andy, please go into the PTG.
Lastly, the Pension Technology Group, or PTG, is what our retirement board actually uses. On 11/22 of this year, the retirement board approved for an employee self-service portal, which is something that we actually should have. This will allow current members and retirees to be able to view all their information online. First-time users will be required to log in and create their login. This site is used by other area towns, so if someone did work at another town and came to work here, their login information would work. Once they get onto their homepage, there'll be various options, such as, looking at their contact information, beneficiary information, and their employment history, not just for the town, but if they worked anywhere else, it would also be listed there. This would save a lot of trips to the retirement office, as any lookups, estimates, and printing can be done at home or any location that has an internet access that they like. So if they're on the beach and they want to look up their information, they can do that. It's safe and secure. Only administrators will have access to the overall site, which would be just the retirement office. Any changes made by the users must be approved by the administrator via a notification, which they would receive. And once users are in there, they can only see their personal information, so there's no way they would be able to see anybody else's. And this is just a listing of what can members and retirees view and do. The one thing that I do have to mention, that if someone does an estimate and downloads the PDF, there's a watermark on the middle of it says estimate. This is so they know it's an estimate, so they can't go and say, well, there's a problem here. And everything is time dated as well. So if there is an issue, it can be quickly rectified. And that's it, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Andy. That was very comprehensive, and it's great to see the amount of work that's been done. Before I open it up, I just want to say, not to discourage you, but we're 15 minutes off the pace here. We still have another big presentation. Also, any policy questions that you have for Andy, they need to be vetted by the selectmen before they come to us. So I don't want to get into where he's giving us information before the selectmen. So like I said, I'm not discouraging anyone's questions, but just keep those two things in mind, okay? But Andy, great job, and it just...
Thank you.
From where we were to where we are now, it's leaps and bounds, and the work by you and Zach and Rick has been fantastic.
This is everyone responsible for
Andy,
this.
thanks, that was really good. Couple questions. You talked about the servers and the backup, battery backup, generator backup.
Right now, it's battery backup in the office.
How long?
We have about 10 minutes before we need to shut down. We actually had this happen when we had the power outage during the summer, in which we were able to gracefully shut down all our servers.
Okay. We should think about generator backup or a bigger battery backup for more than 10 minutes.
Absolutely, it's something we can think about.
That need to be completed, okay?
The stuff we want to talk about.
All right, the next question I had was, you mentioned the highway department couldn't afford to replace their desktop computer for $600? Seriously? We have to wait a whole year for them to get a new computer?
We only had budgeted $2,200 for that.
You budgeted. What, they have a budget. They have a $5 million budget.
That's a good question. We could ask them at a later meeting.
What we've given them is
But-
sufficient. They can.
Right now, it is taken. The garage really didn't need anything spectacular. They just need something to get on and view whatever they need.
That wasn't the question he was really asking, though, Andy,
Yes.
but
And I would-
he
and I
asked
would
you the
question-
question, but it wasn't really directed to you. But
And I would question.
thank you for the info.
I would question why the foreman needs a laptop in the field. What does he report?
Okay, discussion
Yep.
of performance and all that, but
Right.
that came at the
We'll talk to
IT
them.
manager's recommendation.
I would just question it, that's all.
Okay, you're in charge of the question?
Yeah, that came at
don't wanna get
the
into running the
request of Scott and Janice, who,
Yeah.
he's
They
never really
decide
in
that.
his office, and he just wanted something to take on the road.
It's a good idea.
You should take a road trip with them for a day.
I could do that.
Umberto.
Real quick.
You can access the
Verone-
office.
Guys,
Dunkin' Donuts.
guys.
That way he can go
Andy.
to Honeydew and do his work.
Veronis, yay, nay?
That's a big yay. We
Okay.
have
I just,
approved it.
you never came out and said, okay, we finished the trial, here's all the good stuff, but at the end of the day,
Yes, at the end of the day, we are going through with the full version, and we're just waiting on times for having them come.
no,
in.
you have to go through the selectmen and prioritize it, I understand.
Yes.
Any idea on timing that you would recommend if, timing and cost?
The timing, I'm pretty sure will probably happen after the holidays. For a cost, I can defer to Zach here.
In the budget, we purchased it. We're just going through everything right now.
But right after the holidays.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it'll be after the holidays.
What's your schedule for the website conversion?
Right now, we're waiting on the community compact to see what we have for funding.
Grant applications
open March. Yes.
March 1st.
But you had talked about 18 or 19 for that, right?
For what?
No, that
Redo
was,
the whole
no, that was
website?
on the integration of all the systems would be 18 and
Yeah,
19.
we're gonna give it a more
That's it.
detailed
Okay.
discussion on the
Yep.
slide.
But that's not for the next few months.
Yep.
No, it's not.
Anybody else?
Oh, I guess,
Thank you.
just one last question, real quick.
Yeah.
I'll defer to
Yep.
the vice chair.
No, I was just, in the interest of time, Andy, I'm sure I speak for the whole committee when I say that we are extremely pleased with the progress that the team has made. And there is no I in team, and as you frequently point out, it's everybody's involvement. I have your report card here, this is what I call it, this is the task that you're gonna complete. At some point, we'd like to get an update on this, where we stand on these individual projects. I would close by saying you and your organization, Zach, have done a phenomenal job. We have really quantum leaps in this area. Thank you. And is there anything we can do as a finance committee to support you that we're not doing currently from this point forward?
That is a
Currently
loaded
just-
question, if I ever heard one.
More money, that's gonna be simple.
Oh, let's get unlimited funding.
I should have.
through the selectmen first.
Just continue doing what you guys are doing. I can't thank you guys enough. Just to go, just a last note on your report card, pretty much everything has been completed as of now.
Okay, I think there's a couple of things in there.
A couple things here and
Yeah.
there, but for the most part, everything's been completed. We can go over that
Sure.
at a different time.
Great, thank you.
Mike.
Just the question about being on your 3-year plan, you know, and so, this is good stuff that was being done, but maybe the next meeting we see, as we start planning budgets for next fiscal year, how you are on your 3-year plan.
Absolutely, and I know Zach and myself are going to be meeting pretty soon to gear up for next year as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other?
Great job, Andy. Great job,
Thank you
Zach.
very
Great
much.
job,
Thank
Rick.
you.
We don't applaud for that.
I do applaud for what he's doing. What he's gotten done in the last few months is worth applauding.
What's the next presentation?
School IT, the other side of the coin.
All right, next item on the agenda, the schools, IT plan.
had enough
The
IT for one
IT plan was presented to the, guys, we're trying to catch up on 20 minutes here, guys. All right.
I'm learning from you.
Thank you. All right, you got 20 minutes of fat you got to trim off, so. I'm just kidding. No, but anyway, gentlemen, we had the IT director for the schools did a presentation to our school subcommittee, presenting a lot of what you're going to see tonight. There were some questions raised at the subcommittee level, so I wanted to have the schools come in and just give it to the full committee so we can view it and see what's going on. And plus, we haven't had an update from the IT on the schools in an awful long time as well. So I figured it was kind of a dual-purpose meeting. So I don't know, we need an introduction because I don't think Matt has come before our full committee before, so. Have you? Did you introduce yourself? I don't think so.
The subcommittee.
Yeah.
So we actually like the theme of what can the finance committee do for you?
Did you pick up on that?
We like that theme, so we're gonna keep with that. That's
Write
our
a
goal
check.
tonight, yeah.
Ask not what the finance committee can do for you, ask what you can do for the
It's
finance.
the spirit of the season.
That's beautiful.
Matt, I don't know if this is the same one you gave to the subcommittee, but I've put in did you do any changes?
A lot.
Okay, then forget it, it's not up on the drive. Ignore it.
Well, now, first group sat, second Andy stood. What is your?
Matt, you do anything you want.
All right.
Speaker's
You
prerogative.
feel comfortable.
Does he need to hold the mic though, so they pick up the TV?
Yes, we do need a mic. And it's
It's right
behind
in
the
front of
laptop.
the laptop, yeah.
Introduction first, though.
All right, hello, my name is Matt Joseph. I am the new Director for Digital Learning, Technology, and Innovation, Milford Public Schools. It's great to be here. The last 11 years, I served as building principal in both Attleboro and Natick before coming to Milford, and it's been really a great lead-in and first few months here, and each day is more exciting to work here and work with our team and move forward. So today, just for what Chairman was saying, is this is more of a budget overview versus what Andy kind of was talking about, the full structure. So in the beginning of the budget cycle, we wanted to bring forward some of what we're going to be requesting moving forward for our students, our educators, and our district. So there was a presentation given to the school subcommittee about 2 weeks ago, and from there we had an opportunity to reflect, and we did change some of it. And again, I always struggle with, do I pass out the stuff first, because I see everyone's flipping through it, so I think this is how we cut off the 20 minutes. Everyone's just read it. Any questions? We good? Okay, check, and the check is in the mail. So one of the things that is going to be different tonight is I want to go through priorities too, because the last time we met and I presented a similar presentation about 3 weeks ago to the school committee of what the subcommittee saw, but what I wanted to bring to the full committee tonight is really our priorities, because I know I work better that way. I know our technology plan is built on priorities, and I want to respect your time and everyone else's time, so I really want to dig into some of the priorities. But before we can get to the priorities, there was a lot of foundational work done before I started on July 1st in this role. And last year, and I say this because this will lead into our priorities, last year, or however long before I started, the Woodland School Building Committee really started the path on what the educational technology is going to look like. Aldo isn't here tonight. He sat on that committee along with Jonathan Bruce, our Assistant Superintendent Craig Consigli, who was on that committee before transitioning into his current role. And what that committee did was really set the blueprint for this is what a model school is going to look like. And I could not be more thankful walking into that, having one school already up and running with the solid infrastructure. And what they did, as well as Dan Nelson and Jonathan Capice last year with that committee, is look at what tools is similar to what you're using tonight. Actually, those look like the Acer R11s, the touchscreen, but we have the Acer C740s. They put into place the best tools for the Woodland students. So I couldn't be more thankful for the work that they did, and really getting once the school was up and running, we had to update our network. So the first meeting I actually sat in, it was talking about creating a fiber loop or fiber star within our district. So all that work was done before coming on board. Kathy Perry last year put in the E-rate request, and the E-rate funding came in for last year, or really this current school year. 2 of our schools were wired. And it's very exciting. At the last school committee, we were talking about it, that the newest release of the funds were released, so all of our schools will be wireless by the end of this school year. Construction will go into place for the high school around February, and once that job is completed, they're going to move over to Memorial School with the goal of all schools being fully wireless by the end of the year. And then I came on board, and one of the first things that we did over the summer is launch our 3-year tech plan. So once we dive into the priorities, it's really looking forward, but none of that could have happened before without the hard work of that Woodland board and the teachers and crew before I got here. So looking forward, one of the other things that we did coming in is to create structure. And we wanted to establish what a classroom is going to look like. And this was one of the things that came up last time as well when we met with the subcommittee. What are we using? And before, and in the past, we had a lot of different pieces of technology. And we talked a little about this, of what are we going to be using moving forward. This is a very small snapshot of what our administrators have. But what you'll see here, and it's in a larger form, if schools are going to purchase something, we vetted out what we felt were the best tools, and these are the approved tools. So schools can order within their budget as long as it's on the approved list of what we, meaning the tech department and our tech steering committee, deem as the appropriate and aligned technology tools. At the bottom is more of the district, because we were talking about if we're going to buy a printer, we all want them to be the same. If we're going to buy other devices, we want to ensure stability and consistency. So I put this in here because last time we kind of talked about that on the subcommittee. So just like our technology plan is built off of 4 goals, moving forward, we have 4 priorities looking forward. Number 1 priority is student devices. And the reason for that is students are accessing curriculum differently than they ever have in the past. And our Milford students deserve the best tools to have that best education. Currently, all of our 3rd through 5th graders have devices similar to what you have with the Acer C740s. So we have actually 992 of them right now in Woodland School. And my request and our number 1 priority is moving that up into Stacy. So the budget request for next year for $293,000 and change would give us at the start of the school year a 3 through 8 environment where all students had these learning tools. With the updated infrastructure, these will come in really effective for the learning for our teachers and using our Google environment. One of the things that we talked about, whenever we met about a week ago, asked about looking how this would go multiple years out. So our plan is to utilize that funding next year to have a 3 through 8 environment. Currently at Stacy, there are about 9 carts of 30. Those would move up to the high school for next school year, which not only would allow a 3 through 8 one-to-one environment, it would allow a 3-to-1, essentially, if you did the math, at the high school. So that $293,000 not only supports the learning of the middle school, in turn supports the high school because they'll be receiving those devices. The FY19 request will be for about $230,000, which would be enough devices for the remaining students at the high school. So really, if you look at that, about 500 and a little more than 500,000 over 2 years, we'd have an environment for our students, fully wireless, in a one-to-one environment from 3 to 12. And that's where we are looking to go as a district moving forward for our students and for our teachers. The 79 or 80,000 FY20 are devices for our K2 learners. We don't feel it's appropriate to have a one-to-one environment in K2, but at the same point, we need them ready for the years to come and once they enter the 3rd grade. The FY21 is about 5 years after our first rollout of the Chromebooks at the high school. If we do not start thinking about and establishing a refresh program, we're going to be asking for another $293,000 6 years from now, instead of creating an annual cost to refresh what we have. And again, from 19 forward, those are estimates because in 3 years from now, we don't know what that's going to look like.
We understand. Sure.
Okay. Unless you just want to give us that money now, and then we'll just really put into
Very
good
well may
use.
do that.
Revisit
You
that.
haven't been in Milford very long.
No, I gave it a shot, though. I gave it a shot. The new guy can give it a shot, right?
No, you can have it, just ask Kevin, he's got 40 million.
42 million.
It's up to,
Alright,
it's up
good.
to Kevin.
He already said yes.
45.
I don't like the direction this is turning.
Al, we've already had this discussion at the subcommittee level.
Oh, okay.
So our second priority is to add a technician to our department. Right now, we have 1 technician, Jonathan Capice, and Dan Nelson is actually a teacher who runs a student tech team. But beyond that, that is our break-fix department. So one of the things that we talked about the subcommittee is comparing to other districts, but I thought actually what was more valuable is to look at comparison to ourselves. And that was the one thing we didn't do at the last committee and that I really reflected on from the comments. Last school year, we had about 2,000 devices with 1 technician, 1.5. Dan's a teacher again, however you calculate that. He does the 2 of them do about 4 people's worth of work. This year, we have 3,400 devices. So we increased at a large amount. And if the budget is passed and is proposed for next year, we're looking at about 4,500 devices with that 1 full-time technician and 1 technician who's also a classroom teacher.
Half of them are brand new though,
And they have warranties.
and in warranty, so.
But that doesn't negate the fact that that much more data is going on. And that's why, and this was the same conversation we had a week and a half ago, I added the bottom pieces that not only are they working on devices, which yes, some of them are brand new, they're also maintaining all the printers in the district. They're also maintaining all of our video and security systems in all the schools. They're also working on all the phone systems in the district as well as the swipe card system. So that all falls on our department. So yes, This was something we talked about last time with the devices being new, but it also, our department oversees the student management system, our Google Consult, which is our email system, as well as any point of sale, like our cafeteria. So it goes well above and beyond just looking at the devices.
Do you have any school dude numbers for tickets, or, I mean, how many, I know there's 1,915 devices. How many tickets were put in for?
That was something we did talk about last time, and as we get down into the more minutia of it,
Yeah.
we would definitely.
That's not, I don't think that's minutia, I think that's relative to whether you need another technician.
But-
How
but-
many
but-
tickets do you do a day?
But you know,
Wait a minute, I'm
I-
totally
wait, guys,
confused. We had budgeted 3 full-time people in 155. How you use them, we don't care. But now you're saying you only have 1.5.
The
So that's
155
confusing.
wasn't a staffing budget, that was hardware and consulting budget.
no, there was
No,
salaries.
there's two separate
Salaries in there.
parts, that, I remember 2
But
full-time
we also
ta-
gave them the amount and told them to do
Yeah,
whatever
they
they
can
wanted.
do what they
with the
want
amount.
with it, but
I just,
it's
before.
3 whole people.
We will get
too
to, I
much
just,
detail, I
yeah,
think,
exactly.
yeah.
I just have, so you do not have the tickets? Can you do me a favor? Can you get the number of tickets? Because I know School Dude will just spit
Sure,
it
and
out.
then
We
this
asked-
is
we
a
asked for the
similar
same thing.
conversation last time.
I'm sorry, I missed that meeting.
Right, and I didn't, so my other question is, I think hours need to be tied to that, tickets and
Oh,
hours.
absolutely. I totally agree with you. The amount of time, absolutely. But if you could just get that, to me, that's a real,
100%.
you know what I mean? The number of things, I think that's fantastic.
No, it's just
But
a
also, how
big
many
thing.
things break? If the new stuff was breaking 20 times a day, you know, that would be a good reflection of how much work you have to do. So to me, if you had the School Dude numbers, that'd be
So, but the
perfect.
other thing, besides the School Dude, what I need to, and this is why I didn't come with it tonight, because I wanted to get the specifics, is that all the things down at the bottom wouldn't be tickets. Those were just some of the day-to-day part of the job.
So if the lunch lady calls up and says, "Get down here, my X isn't working," she doesn't put, there's not a ticket for that?
For that specific one, yes, but the others, as far as maintaining in our health management suite that we have to update and.
But how often do you do that?
Nonstop all day long.
What, you update the
One
health
of some- one of
management
those
suite all
thing-
day long? I mean,
Yes, and I think the student management system, we're in that about 25, 30 times a day.
why? I don't wanna get into it.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it, but to me, I have a question, because if a printer breaks, that would be a call tag. If a security camera broke, they would call and say the camera doesn't work. If the phone doesn't work, they wouldn't call, they'd email.
Right.
But all those things, you'd think that there would be tickets showing those things. I agree with some of the
There's
other
definitely those tickets, but I'm
ones.
also going to put into that same matrix
Yeah.
the day-to-day maintenance that are done to
Of
be
course.
proactive.
Absolutely.
The overhead.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's the proactive versus what, but then there's gonna be a third column, just if we're gonna have that conversation of what's not getting done because the one technician
Yeah.
is doing, so.
And I think that's fantastic, Matt. And
Okay,
I
so I just
apologize,
wanted-
I didn't want to get off, but
Nope.
I figured you had this in such good detail, and I
I wanted
apologize.
to
I
make
didn't know
sure
so
that
good.
the next time this information was brought, because I'm gonna answer that question, because last time we talked, we got a spreadsheet from you, and it was great, because then I saw how the information.
How you wanted to see it presented.
Yeah, so
Can we
I
get it
wanted-
in an Excel spreadsheet and not a PDF when you get back to the office?
Excuse me?
It came in a PDF format. I'd like an Excel
Okay.
copy.
And the
When you
reason
get
I
back.
sent in a PDF is because that would be able to be viewed by all devices. So that's why I didn't come with it tonight, because I wanted to talk about how that would be delivered.
We've made a lot of progress
That's
here.
totally fine.
We've made a lot
Yep,
of
that's
progress
fine.
here, and this is something we've been looking for 4 years, so I really don't think this is the forum tonight to
I
get
agree
drill
with you.
down
I
into
just,
that level of
that's
detail.
off. I just was curious, you had the number, and we got a little.
That's a number we can get for you very
And,
easily.
and I figured it did, and that
But you know,
that
this is
conversation
not the
devolved
time to
into
get
all this, and I apologize.
How many tickets?
Right.
No.
That's an easy number to get, though.
Yeah, that's
We just don't have it.
This
on
is
the-
totally
Let him
fine.
present.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, so, and just as we move forward, the warranty on the Chromebooks are only 1 year, if we buy the warranty, which we probably wouldn't, and that's another discussion as well, moving down the road. So we did that. The next priority is some increase in programs or subscriptions for the district. So you'll see an increase this year, close to 80,000 for some of the programs that we're looking to bring in. So Chromebooks first, adding additional technician would be our second priority. Third priority is bringing in some software and tools that we don't have. The biggest ask is one that actually has been in our tech plan for the last year and a half, is the language lab for the high school. And that's a one-time cost, then we would own it. It's actually not a lab itself, it's 31 subscriptions. There's a teacher subscription and then 30 student subscriptions. I mean, in the subcommittee, we kind of went into detail about what exactly that language lab.
What does language lab mean to
So what that is there'd be 30 students either on Chromebooks or in a lab. It's an online program where they'd have headsets, teacher would have a headset, teacher would have a
learning
monitor.
learning a language?
Excuse me?
Learning a language.
So you'd be able to speak to each student in their native language, then you can work in groups and those students will be able to speak in their native language. It's not ESL or ELL specific, it's for actually the foreign language department, not ELL students specific. But can be used with those because they're subscription-based versus loaded onto a computer. Okay.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And then
Can I
actually,
answer your question in terms of what the language lab
yeah, I
was?
want,
No, but
it's not a translator,
I'm not
it's where
sure-
the teacher can actually speak. If you each had them, I could actually speak to each one of you individually by controlling the teacher station. If I then program the 4 of you in a group, the 4 of you could talk to each other, 3 of you could talk with each other.
like they use it at the United Nations? Similar to that. That's what they do in,
Similar.
Yeah.
That's probably a
so
little more
what you're doing
specific.
is you're trying to overcome the language barrier by purchasing.
Not only the language barrier.
But also, he can talk just to Johnny instead of talking to the other 30
yes,
people in the
it
room.
can be much more direct, and it can be, students could also do the same.
It's a fantastic teaching tool because it increases student engagement.
Okay,
it's
I'm
a
just-
best practice in terms of world language.
I was just trying to differentiate between a language lab versus a laboratory kind of thing, but you've answered my question.
Yeah, it's
Thank
not a laboratory, it would be in a classroom setting.
Yeah.
The cart could come in with the 30 Chromebooks, and the teacher could set it up and actually plan lessons through that so that students would have their own projects, then speak to each other. And this was something that came to me from our 8th grade curriculum leader that we researched, actually started last year, and then again this year seeing a demo, and this was a fabulous program.
I'm still trying to understand, are you trying to teach a foreign language, or are you
Yes.
trying, okay, that's what you're trying to do. You're
Okay,
teaching
so-
a foreign language, not necessarily trying to communicate with ESL
It
students.
can be used for both, but yes, the first priority is for the foreign language department, that's where the quests come in, but because you're purchasing the subscriptions, the licensing, you can use those 30 licenses however you choose.
Did you say it was in this year's budget, Matt?
No, it was vetted last year, it was in the tech plan.
proposed
It
previously.
was proposed.
Is it in this
Yes,
spreadsheet? What year?
this year.
18? 17? Well, I don't have 17.
How much is it?
No, for next
This
year. 17,
proposed
18.
year.
18.
Yes.
18.
What they call 17, we call 18.
Yes.
Okay, oh, is that, okay.
So it's in the budget I'm proposing for next school year.
And it's under what, Matt?
On that spreadsheet,
Yeah,
can I see yours?
sure.
It would be under school, and it would be subscriptions, the 75,000 for 18, right?
Is that, okay. I think
that's
subscriptions
part-
misspelled.
And Matt, we don't want to go through the details because you
Well,
have to
I
go
know,
to
I
the
just
school
wanted to know.
committee
Exactly.
to find out. I mean, we've got 200 and some odd thousand
So that
in the
line of
budget for next year. How they
75,000
use it is up to them.
That adds up to about 75,000, which is that line.
Got it.
But you pay for it 1 year and you own it from that point forward.
Yeah, so if you see that same line, what you were looking at, it looks like it's on the, I didn't know exactly where you're looking, the column over, there's a reduction of $47,000 for the 19 budget. Yes.
Are you going to talk about the math intervention tool too?
No. Well, and the reason is because we were in the process of vetting them right now. We have 3 or 4 that
Okay.
we would like. And the reason is I want to come with our committee, our technology committee is looking at multiple options right now. And I want to come and present the one that we select. There are multiple ones that we're using. But right now, we don't have a large budget to purchase.
What's the generic goal,
Guys,
purpose?
I just want to stress again, the things up there need to go through the school committee first.
Yes.
So for us to discuss about something that the school committee hasn't even made a decision on, they may not like any of this, and we're gonna talk about it, and it's a moot point. So obviously, please ask questions, but on stuff like this, remember, it hasn't been vetted by the school committee yet, so these are all just proposals, so.
Correct, and that's what I wanted to bring tonight, is the proposed, what's already gone actually to the school committee, bring it forward, went to the subcommittee.
And Chris
here.
is dead on because it's up to the school committee to decide if they need their boiler replaced or that done, or this, you know.
So we're premature in a budget discussion.
Yeah,
Right,
so with
that's
that
what I'm
being
saying,
said,
Mark.
Matt,
Yeah.
Keep going
Let them
technically.
present.
keep going.
Right.
Okay.
I will try to keep it to a minimum.
No,
The
that's okay.
interruptions.
But at the same point, I want people to know, and anybody watching, because this is important to our district, this is important to our students, and it's the direction that we're going. And the takeaway from this is that this is how our priorities are going to be moving forward. Strategic, consistent, for all of us to be using in the best interest of our students. The fourth priority, which is also on there, is just keeping the budget that we have for any of our current district hardware and subscriptions as well, and just listed a few that we use those tools for that are in that spreadsheet already. This is what you already have. This was given to me by Mr. DeVita as far as a spreadsheet of bringing how it's going to look over time, the proposed 18, 19, and 20 budget. And I mean, you can look through the left, but the right is the increase. This is the 155 budget. That is the town contribution. Next year, the request is for the exact same amount from this year, 110,000. The year after that, FY19, is about a 1% increase. I think we can utilize the tools that we have. And then looking down 2 years from now, we're going to probably need some additional upgrades, and that's about a $10,000 increase. The second budget that it was asked to create on the spreadsheet was the school budget. Again, if you want to look through the top two columns, but the bottom, the two big asks, you'll see Mr. Hyatt, is that how you pronounce it?
Right.
You'll see on the first FY18, it's 204,000, and then you'll see that reduction to 156, and that's because the language lab money came out. So the top number is the budget without the Chromebook request, and the bottom number is with the Chromebook request. And again, tonight was really just presenting to the Finance Committee, presented to the School Committee, and then bringing it to the full committee and people watching to really start to get a flavor of where we're going as a school district.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
In the context of school choice and the schools that we are involved with in school choice, does this put us ahead of the curve or catching up with the curve? Does this
This
benefit
gets us
us?
about to see the curve. Like, and I'm not trying to be facetious with that. This is a budget that's going to get us into the race of the schools that you're talking about.
We're that far behind.
We're pretty behind, if you want the blunt truth.
Thank you.
Are we talking about the schools that are contiguous to our town, or are we talking about the schools across the 351 towns in the Commonwealth?
I was answering just some of the school choice districts.
Oh, okay, so they are contiguous to the town, the places we're losing students to other communities. And we're getting a negative.
And
we're
tonight I
getting-
didn't have the full amount of how close and what the numbers are, but to say that we actually don't have buildings that are wireless and don't have the devices we have are behind some of the other districts, yes.
Okay, Matt. So, is there another slide after this one?
No.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to say it that way, but good.
Good, this guy is done.
You
You said trim 20 minutes, so.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
it's excellent, excellent.
Matt, this is, as I said, it's almost verbatim what I said to Andy. We've been looking for information like this for a long time. And I know to you, this just seems like basic information, but to us, this is the world because we've seen nothing before. So I do have to give you big kudos for putting this stuff together, and I appreciate all the hard work that you did to get this together. Because like I said, you're opening a whole new world to us because we've been asking for it for a long time, and unfortunately, because of comedy of errors, we were unable to do that. So I really thank you and the work, Kevin, and the school committee members. So same thing as I prefaced it before, any questions that you have on policy and that type of stuff, I would tend to stay away from that because like we talked about earlier, nothing has been vetted by the school committee who's in the back of the room right now, and until they decide that they're gonna do it, it does us no good to ask him questions about it. So obviously, once again, I'm telling you not to ask questions, but obviously keep that in mind with the questions that you do ask. Albert?
Yeah, I mean, I don't need any answers tonight, but when you meet with the subcommittee, I know the question I'll be asking is, we have 3 full-timers for hardware support that we budgeted. And you're saying you're using half this person for education and an education direct. Before we could really, in my mind, think of adding another hardware person, we gotta figure out are we getting 3 full-timers worth of use? And I don't need an answer tonight, but that's what's there, you know,
Absolutely, and I'd have to look at that line, Al. It's a
Yeah.
great question. It's a fair question.
that's all.
That's a subcommittee
Yep.
discussion.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I don't wanna have it
Yep.
here, but
Thank you.
please be ready, because I'm gonna ask the subcommittee chair, Mr. Mark, to look into that.
I can have Kathy ready with that answer.
And, you know, all the other things here, Chris is dead on. You got 60 some odd million dollars of money that we spend every year on the school. Got to give the school committee their due respect to say, go through all these things and come back and say, how do they fit into priorities versus boilers and other things?
Right, anybody else?
You're losing control over here.
Yep, I know.
In the topic of school choice, the town we lose the most students to is Hopedale. In regards to devices, what is it that their policy is as far, you know, do they have Chromebooks or something similar from 3rd grade up?
Without preparing for that question, I don't want to give any information that is not accurate. So I can get some of that together.
Yeah.
But here's what I also don't want to do, or in the position that I'm in the new role, is that I want people to compare themselves to us. I want people to say, what's Milford doing? And we want to keep up to them, and not always looking at what the other districts are and hope we can catch up to them. What we're proposing is what a classroom's going to look like, what our students deserve and have the best opportunity to learn, and then have everyone catch up to us. And
Well, I'm
this,
hoping that's what the Woodland School basically did for us,
and
right?
it did. That was the first slide. They started us off, and now it's our role and my job that I was hired to ensure the rest of the schools and the rest of the students are at that same pace. So you're exactly right, and that's one of our schools. And the budget and the priorities are going to get the rest of our schools there as well.
Good. All right.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
No, just the same
Yep.
comments. This is light years ahead of what we've ever had in the past. Thank you, Doctor, to you and your team, and we will be in contact to drill down on these numbers and refine them and work with you in the future. Thank you very much. Excellent
And
presentation.
they're quick questions. First, are you taking over the E-rate thing, or is Kathy still doing
I will be
it?
taking over for the next,
Next cycle.
Next cycle.
Proposal, yep.
So from now on, it would be technically his position would do all the E-rate applications, all that, perfect.
We discussed that at the
Yep,
meeting,
great.
too.
Also, is there any dialogue between you and Andy? I mean, did you guys ever talk? Do you ever
They're on
like?
different servers, they can't.
Oh, yeah, I'll back up servers at the high school.
we've
The
spoken.
the point of the question is that before you came here, we had a joint IT dream, I would call it, that with the whole town would be underneath one blanket, and we've separated, and I'm still under the dream that we'll come back. So my point is, in order for that to happen, I'm hoping that you don't take a left and we take a right, and then there's no ability for us to come back together again. So I'm just wondering, is you guys talking at all, like, you had your list of approved devices, I see you have a lot of HPs up there, we do Dells. Not that that's a big deal, but my point is, just to have our networks to be able to, you know, someday hopefully talk to each other and that kind of stuff. Do you?
So we do speak about some topics. So the entire presentation you saw from Andy, we've talked about that on what it looks like in the school
Yep.
as well. But a lot of discussions also that I have and with our team are in the schools themselves. So I spend a lot of time within schools, with teachers, with principals to ensure that this is happening and our plan is moving forward. So I talk with him about their direction, and he talks with us about where we're going. I've met with Zach a few times as well about where they're going to be putting money into hardware. We've actually talked about how we can possibly consolidate down the road, but I haven't talked to him on a weekly basis, but we've communicated.
No, but even purchasing as a group, you get cheaper prices. I just want to make sure that the dialogue, I just would encourage you and Andy to talk. I think it's a good thing, both for the town and for the school, to be having an asset, and maybe he thinks of something you don't, purchasing together, we get bulk pricing, you know, that kind of stuff. Just, I encourage, if you know, I know you're busy, and I know Andy's busy, but for you two to have a good relationship and, you know, talking to each other, I think can only benefit the town as a whole, so.
One question, again, just deal with the subcommittee, but we had leases for desktops.
Yes.
If we're
And laptops.
in laptop, well,
Yep.
for non-Chromebooks,
I'm assuming that money's gonna roll into the Chrome program.
well, that's the question. I mean, if you set up a lease over 3 years, 2 years in, you want to do Chromebooks, we still have to pay for the leases.
But those are for teachers, and so the teachers have, well, the Woodland teachers have HPs, so that was the.
Okay,
decision.
so the Chromebooks do not affect leases we have?
No, the Chromebooks are purchases and they're for student use.
Okay,
The lease
so we didn't
program
have
is
any
for-
lease program for students?
No, we did not. All the student devices are purchased except for the labs that are in the high school, which are
That-
part of the leased program.
But now, those won't be affected, the computer labs won't be affected by the Chromebooks?
Affected in what sense?
Well, I'm just wondering, we have a lease of 100 machines, 10 machines. It's for 3 years, you gotta pay for it.
That's possibly where we could use some of the money to operationalize.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's
Then,
not- it wouldn't
I'll
help us with
leave
the-
it for the
wouldn't help us-
subcommittee,
yeah, it
Kevin.
wouldn't help us with
Yeah,
the initial
let's-
purchase, but to potentially operationalize.
No,
it
because
down
there's
the road,
not
it
that
could-
many non-student devices.
Okay, I don't wanna
in the
drag
lab.
this down.
Thank you.
Chris has
No, it's a-
asked
it's a
that
good-
we don't.
It's a good question.
I get breakfast at
I've written it
7.
Anybody else?
I had one last question.
Yeah.
We're good, thank you.
During the subcommittee meeting, we talked about the servers and how it would actually save us money by outsourcing the servers versus replacing old servers.
Yep.
But I still see hardware costs for our server replacement in this budget proposal on the 155 account. Where are we on
So
that?
one of the things after that meeting and looking at what the big shift in the presentation that you saw in here is looking at priorities. And our largest priority is to have devices in student hands. And that's really where I wanted to focus. We're backing off on the off-site server at this point and looking at what we have and ensuring that it can handle what we have and making sure that the backup, similar to what you were talking about to Andy, is robust enough and focusing on the student devices at this point. Really, we've, since our last meeting, evaluated the memorial server and the high school server, which were the two oldest servers, and do feel that with this budget next year, we could probably get through the year, but if not, the money that's in there could handle any replacement costs.
But wasn't the cost to back up those servers or maintain those servers more expensive than just outsourcing them altogether?
That is correct, but one of the things I'm going to try to do, and this will go into the ticket piece and the technician, is trying to do some of that on site and trying to have some cost savings there.
Yeah, and we have a lot of server space at Woodland and that.
I was
kind of
gonna
stuff.
say,
Yeah.
if I remember, the good Dr. Bruce told us he put in servers for the world, that he could back up everybody
Yep.
in the center of the universe.
Yep, and they know, and they know that now.
And that's part of why looking
good.
at other ways to save money, utilizing the servers that we currently have in
Okay.
place.
Yep.
Let's not,
And-
we don't wanna bring you down.
Anybody else?
Okay, yep.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you staying late. I know
Matt,
guys have
thank
to
you.
drive.
Welcome.
Good night, Kevin, thank you.
Yeah, have a good night.
We will be in touch. Thank you,
Maybe
guys.
some more questions for Matt on Monday, are you gonna be there
So,
Monday night?
we had
No,
actually,
I thought-
we had actually switched his schedule, so we moved some things around to come tonight. So
Okay.
Kathy should be able to answer the financial stuff.
And I'll
And we'll
get
have
you
we'll have
those
the ticket
numbers.
information
All
for you.
right, so we'll
Monday,
just
too.
finish up where we left off the last time, and we'll come back to
Yep.
IT
And I'll
at
get
the
the-
next.
But
the-
we'll have the questions that came up that we didn't have the data on for Monday
Right.
night.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. See you guys Monday at 6.
We wanna talk to Joe, he keeps saying you have too much money and not enough places to spend it.
That's because he's going on vacation again, Joe.
All right, guys, I really appreciate it. I know I'm a bad chairman. I made you come in December. Not like the previous one.
Yeah, that's right.
But seriously, thank you. We
kept us for too
we-
long.
We had a lot of stuff. We had a lot of stuff to go over tonight, and we had a lot of great information tonight. I think a lot of great updates between IT and obviously the Youth Commission. Yeah, Mike?
We still had one last agenda item of.
Oh, I want to get committee reports, so.
No, proposals for next meeting. I had a couple things
I didn't get
I
to that
wanted to
yet, but we'll
discuss, to put on the agenda for
Yep,
next
all
meeting.
right.
Actually, I think these are the types of presentations that we should have
Yeah.
at our meetings. It's just that we probably tried to cram too much in there. Because, I mean, this really brings everybody up to date on what's going
All right,
on.
what do you got,
But
Mike?
to put them all in one night, it's just a
I'll let
little
him
too
finish.
much, I think.
What do you got?
Well, during the IT presentation, we wanted to ask questions about security. And Bill brought up a great point that should be discussed during executive session. I don't know if that needs to be an agenda item. If it does need to be an agenda item, we should have that on the agenda item for next meeting so that we can discuss security.
All right, we'll look at that. Yeah.
Um,
Whether it's next-
Just out of curiosity, I think you gotta check with Jerry, cause he gave us a laundry list of what you can go into exec
Yeah.
session on and what, you-
I'll talk to Jerry.
just make sure we're okay.
Yeah, well, to me, that's certainly one of them.
Sure.
I would think, but I'll definitely check.
It would definitely.
Yeah.
The second item is, as we all know, or I think we all know, the governor's cuts affects the MWRTA. Obviously, we're gonna need to discuss how the $75,000 cut will affect the bus service. Will we have enough funding to at least get to town meeting in May? I don't think we will. I think we're a month short.
That sounds great. We were gonna, yeah, that sounds great, because we actually had then on the January agenda anyway, because we talked about last time we wanted to give them another month with the numbers.
Mike, we didn't get
Good
that
point.
75, or
It was cut.
it was cut? It was never in the budget?
All right, anybody else have any agenda items? And then I'm gonna get back to subcommittee reports,
No,
but while
we
we're
were told.
talking about it.
I just want to make a comment, and I didn't want to keep belaboring the point. I think we need to look at the IT budget from the schools from the standpoint of what do we need to do? Let me finish, Mark.
Yeah.
What do we need to do to bring this schedule forward? In other words, I'm looking at like $500,000 to go ahead and implement the whole thing in one fell swoop, rather than keep pushing it out year after year. Because I get the impression we're like at a C+ compared to everybody else. I'm not sure that's fair. But I just like to reach out, because we do have the resources to go ahead and start putting those devices in more students than we have on the schedule. In other words, ask them to add another.
Yep.
Go ahead and embrace the whole thing now.
Good point. Some
And
of
we'll
it,
take that up.
Jerry, is at their request.
Yeah.
Because of the learning curve and everything, that they do want to
I'm
take.
not saying that, but I don't.
There's no question.
You need
I don't-
resources,
I
yeah.
think it's dollars and cents that they may be divvying it up.
I think it's probably a little bit of both, Jerry.
Okay.
Because to be honest with you, to now monitor 2,000
And then
Chromebooks,
go to
we-
10,000.
We have trouble getting 14 of them to work here,
Okay.
and, so, exactly.
Good point, Chris.
So, but Jerry,
Just a thought.
I think that's a good point, and we'll pass, and Mark heard, so he'll pass that on to the subcommittee. Anybody else for agenda items? All right, subcommittee reports. We had talked about the leaf truck, I don't want to call it a situation, but the fact that there was an old leaf truck still on the thing.
Right,
Joyce, did you get any
there's-
info?
Right, there was one new truck that was in use this fall, and the other one was still being built. So he was still using the old trucks. After this cycle, he was going to put one of those trucks out, and he was hoping to get, he told me around $30,000 for it.
And that's what they had always told us, that this was
That's
about a
what he had
$30,000.
told us before, that's right. Mr. Chairman, we allocated all the money up front.
Right.
And we had to have those trucks this fall.
I conveyed that,
Actually, it was last fall, so
Mark,
it was a year late.
I conveyed that information along to the committee chair, and I'm gonna pass along that as well, so the message will get delivered, and I completely agree with you. Any other subcommittee reports? Yep.
Just a quick one on capital. We had our first meeting with the Youth Commission to start looking at what they envision for the building and the programs from a capital point of view only. Obviously, everything else was coming here. But they gave us some action items. We asked them to develop, just like we've asked the school, the new long-range ed plan, well, the new long-range youth plan, for the youth center, so we could see where they envision and what items that they thought should have been included but had to be cut. So we're starting to work together. It may be something as simple as moving forward on that split of the $30,000 device, so they can offer the courts to 2 organizations, not 1. But we'll be getting more and more details. At least we started. The air conditioning is off the table for this year.
Should be off the table, period.
We just talked about the next couple of years.
No.
So that's
the table, period. Come on.
All right, thank you, Alberto. Anybody else subcommittee reports? Mr. Shane?
Just a quick one on the school.
Yeah.
We had a subcommittee meeting a couple weeks ago. We're due to have another one this coming Monday. One of the major discussions, obviously, is choice. The school department is reporting that their marketing program has had some benefits this fiscal year, maybe 10 students or 12 students. And I can send this out, I got this from John Erickson's pretty good spreadsheet from 2006 through 2017, choice in, choice out. 2006, there were 110 out, 120 in. 2017, 194 out, 98 in. So we're down about $1 million and change on the choice budget. And that's something that we're pushing very hard from the subcommittee point of view on the school department. They've gone and done some marketing to the 8th grade to go to the high school. They've picked up some 8th graders that haven't left. But one of the questions that you asked, or somebody over here asked, is why are they going to Hopedale? We don't have an answer for that at this point in time. And we've asked the same question. What's the advantage of the 78 kids or 80 kids that are going to Hopedale? 80 kids, right? Used to be the other way around. 80 kids used to come to Milford because of all the sports and everything else. So this Monday night, we're gonna meet the athletic director as well, and we're gonna have a discussion with him of what the programs they're improving on to gain more kids to come into Milford. Dr. McIntyre told us that a couple of grades, they had to shut off the number of kids coming in because the grades were full. And that's understandable and acceptable. The major areas are 2, 3, and 4, and the high school. So kids are choicing out in 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and the high school. And in the middle, they're pretty steady. So it's a really strange situation.
And we'll put those numbers up on the
Those
drive.
are-
Yeah,
those are good
I'll
numbers,
email them.
Yep, and we'll get them up on the drive.
Yeah, Mark, if I could, I mean, I think the whole school choice issue is something we've focused on, and we should, but it's gonna be a slow process.
It could
You know,
be, yeah.
for example, you know, they had, if you have 192 juniors choicing out, well, you're gonna have 192 seniors the following year, because it just goes from year to year. Well, if you-
No, that's by grade.
Yeah,
That's a total.
no, but I'm just saying, if you have a junior class with a
There's
lot.
no question.
So once they choice out in the 2nd or 3rd grade, those numbers are gonna stay there.
Yeah, they're not ping-ponging back and forth.
They're not,
Yep.
yeah, they're not gonna
They're
come
very
back.
hard to
So-
come back, yeah.
So you just gotta kinda keep that now. In terms of choicing in, we had 98 students choice in, which was an improvement of some 18 students over the year before. So choicing in was better.
Yep.
But choicing out is gonna be a process, because again, once
no
they
question.
start,
And-
they're not
and-
coming, they're not coming back.
And we voiced our interest in keeping a close eye on that, and Mark and his committee are doing a great job staying on top of the schools and making sure that they make school choice one of their top priorities, so.
Some of the thing with respect to choice, you know, we can't, quote, charge the school a difference in choice. And what I want to make clear here, because I've read a bunch of newspaper articles, the Town Crier, the Milford Daily News, even the radio station, they're reporting that the choice out money comes out of the school budget. It does not come out of the school budget. It comes out of the general fund. The school
Choice
does
in
not
money.
get impacted at all with choice out. They only get, and they get the choice
Choice
in
in, they
money.
get the choice in, so it's, yeah.
Yes, that's true.
No, that's.
Actually,
That's always been
I'm
the case.
That's always
curious
been true.
because we pay the choice out of the general.
Correct.
Which leaves less money for the 62%.
Yeah,
In
no,
essence,
no, no.
it-
We can't deduct it, we can't
No, we
deduct
don't,
that.
but
Right.
when we look at our general
You're
budget,
saying it
if
comes
there's
right off
less
the top.
money,
You're saying it a little differently, but.
they don't get the full impact. They do get the full pack of the coming in.
Spread percentage of it.
They get a percentage because we have less money
But
to
it's a
They
much
still get
smaller,
impacted.
you're right, it's a
They
much
get
smaller
impacted.
percentage than the 56%.
no free ride.
Right, but they don't get the whole, you're right that they don't get the whole
Balanced
impact.
No, and that needs to be
It's not a
clear.
balanced
Yeah,
legislation.
What Al's saying is
We've had this
correct.
discussion a lot.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
We
Ultimately,
good? Anybody else?
pocket of money is.
All right, everybody, Merry Christmas,
No,
Happy
when I-
Hanukkah.
New
Oh,
business, old business, whatever, I just will bring up again, purchase of the water company. I wanna be sure, as I read in the newspaper, and that's my only source of information to date, is that this thing is close to being come to town meeting this year. I wanna make sure this committee is not behind the curve on that initiative.
Yep, and
This is a
and-
huge initiative.
And I've contacted town council, and he keeps saying it's in negotiation. That's why I haven't had him in for a meeting, because to be honest with you, all he's gonna tell us is it's in negotiation. That's what he told me he would tell us. And of course, that would be an executive session, but
But that's okay.
I'm on it, and I think it's one of the most important things that this town's, facing right now, so. I wish everyone a Merry Christmas then.
Yes, you may.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah,
Move to
Happy New
adjourn.
Year.
Happy holidays.
Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I usually have the month of December off.
Done.